Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nasdaq Futures ICT Weekly Outlook 2026, Episode 6. This week, we have plenty of opportunity, as you guys can see here, with plenty of red folders throughout the week. With that being said, let's get into how I plan to trade every specific day and the times that I will be trading. So, Monday is a no news Monday. Normally, I would be waiting for the 9:30 open to look for any type of manipulation and for the 9:42 macro to take any type of trade. But I want to point one thing out here for Tuesday. On Tuesday, we have CPI. The day before NFP and FOMC rate cut news release, or CPI, and bank holidays for me are no trading days. That's just for me. If you want to be trading on Monday, I would still be waiting for the 9:30 open, but in my opinion, those specific days tend to be not so great. And a perfect example of that is last week for NFP. Wednesday was an expansion, Tuesday was an expansion, Thursday was an obvious consolidation. You can't argue with that. Just because you get one or two good days before NFP that happens to have some decent price action for like a 30-minute window doesn't make it correct to trade the days before CPI, NFP, or an FOMC rate cut. So I will not be trading Monday due to that, and I will be waiting for at least Tuesday to CPI to be released, and again for the 9:30 open for some sort of manipulation. On Wednesday as well, I will be waiting for the news releases to come out, and at least for the 9:30 open for some sort of manipulation, and for the 9:42 macro to give some sort of opportunity. I expect Wednesday to be a really good day, and Tuesday to be a really good day as well here. On Thursday, we have unemployment claims at 8:30 New York local time. On that day, the same thing applies, waiting for the 9:30 to create some sort of manipulation. And then for the 9:42 macro, or near the 9:42 macro at least, to look for an entry and take a trade. Now, with that being said, let's get into the charts. All right, here we are on the daily time frame for the E-mini Nasdaq Futures March 2026 contract. And as you guys can see, the daily BISI here that I noted for last week's price action that I wanted to see stay above did stay above it, and randomly we formed SMT inside of that same area. So now, currently we have monthly SMT and previously all-time high SMT with ES and the Dow Jones. So alone, that means nothing. It is a big time cycle SMT that we have to be paying attention to. But until the Nasdaq loses this specific area here. So once the Nasdaq loses this daily BISI and displaces below this area, then I would consider this SMTs here and here with the all-time high to be valid. Until then, I expect Nasdaq to catch up. So with that being said, what would I be targeting? So we have the previous weekly high, which more than likely will be taken before Tuesday. And then we have the previous monthly high and the same daily SIBI that I have been pointing out for the past few weeks here. What we do once we take these two highs, if we take these two highs, more than likely they will, in my opinion, because we are still in a buy program on everything. And I also want to see how we react to these areas, specifically this volume imbalance here. Change the color of that to a different color. We'll do a darker color there for that. So that volume imbalance is overlapping the current previous weekly high. And I would be paying attention to how we treat that area to see if we'll even make an expansion towards previous monthly high, or we're just going to go back into the daily BISI, which is okay to do so. It is okay for us to open low and expect any retracement lower into this daily BISI as a retracement to then expand higher into the daily SIBI. And then once we get to the daily SIBI, we have to pay attention to whether we use it as an inversion fair value gap, or if we break below the volume imbalance here and some sort of swing lows that we would have created in this area. Then if that were to happen, then again, that would, in my opinion, validate the SMT that we currently have with the all-time high. Even if we swipe these two highs here one more time before going lower, we still have that all-time high SMT. So in my opinion, we have to not only trade above these areas here, use them as support, but we also have to attack the all-time high in the next 1 to 2 weeks. Or we're going to start to see some high resistance liquidity runs, which is basically just consolidation top, which is very unfavorable price action. So I would prefer either the SMT at the highs to validate itself in the next 1 to 2 weeks, or for Nasdaq to take the all-time high and then continue the bull market. So it's very simple this week. The SMT that I said was the invalidation for last week still held. We pushed higher. We're now above this daily BISI. Until we displace below this daily BISI, we are in a buy program. Once we reach these highs, if we do not use them as support on price and turn these into inversion fair value gaps and inversion volume imbalances to then continue higher to take all-time high, and then after that, breaking lower below these levels, then I would consider that the first warning sign that we're in a sell program and that all-time high SMT is valid. And then the moment we close below this daily BISI, then on all time frames, we would be in a sell program. Now I want to drop down to the 1 hour time frame just to give some examples for last week's price action. So for last week, I had said, I gave a scenario where we can break lower to form some sort of low to then continue higher, or that we can just continue to push on ahead, and that I would be paying attention to the consequent encouragement of this 1 hour SIBI and the daily SIBI, which if you overlap them is pretty much in this area here. And now, as you can see, in hindsight, here we used it, here we used it. And once we break above that, I would expect these areas here, here, and here to be targeted. And as you guys can see, the areas that I have had on these charts now for weeks have been working over and over and over again. A to B, 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 A to B. Over and over and over again do these points of interest continue to work in this specific area. And none of that is random. So for this week on the 1 hour time frame, again, I would be waiting until Tuesday to take any trades. But we can have plenty of scenarios where we come down to any of these points of interest here to form a low to then continue higher for the week. We could either come to this point of interest or even back into the daily BISI to form some SMT here and then get back above these areas to continue higher. So those are the scenarios that I'm looking for this week. Again, I will be avoiding Monday and waiting for CPI to be released on Tuesday. And I will be using these same points of interest to take trades. I will be posting a trade breakdown from a low that I took inside of this candle here after the NFP release. I literally bought 2 minutes away from the low of the day. And I will be doing a trade breakdown on that later this week. Good luck and good trading.